the last time we talked about Avantgarda, we were talking about how the deck was made out of too many generics and how, you know, in the future there may be more support to actually support it. We spoke too soon. They literally gave Avantgarda a monthly promo Bushiroad card, and then they also gave us DBT10 support, which we will only cover post WGP for the first round of season 1. Hey, what's going on, guys? RZ4 here. Today we are back to cover our last Dbt09 deck profile, which is Avantgarda again. And as you know, I'm not alone. Today we have Faye the Fourth.
I love Monthly Bushiroad.
So today we are here to talk about Avantgarda with its new promo, a la the Argentina. I'm not looking at that.
I'm not sure.
Doesn't matter. So Allah is basically a really good card that allows you to basically have Emmeline in Avantgarde, which should raise off a lot of red flags by now, because Emmeline's a really good card for blasters, even though blasters are completely obsolete at this point in time thanks to Zorga masks. But today we are going to be talking about this deck as in itself. What happens to Avantgarde before we actually move into set 10. Now the Avantgarde video has actually done well enough for us to cover this version, so if this video does well as well, then I will do the set 10 Avantgarde video. If not, then I'll just stop, okay? I'll just stop. So our right line is basically the same as last time. It is, you know, all the blue Desters in the right deck.
So we shall start with Blue Desta Solar Period. He's just a standard D starter, but he's a very edgy boy when rolled upon draw a card. And then
if you go second.
Yeah, if you go second, draw a card. This is not V series, very sad.
Yes.
Next we have Blue Desta Dark Verdict Findanis. Yes, so Findanis' skill is that when he's rolled upon by Blue Dester, Heavenly Death Ray Steel Vein, which is the grade 2 of the right line. You search your deck for one strategy order, and when grade 1 strategy order, you add it to your hand.
Yes.
So for now, we only have one grade 1 strategy order, which is the Assassination Mission. Basically, it's just the grade 1. It's basically just Findanis hidden in some cloth. Yes, it's very stealthy, guys.
Yes. Stealth is optional.
Yes.
Our attacks are not.
And then we have, of course, Blue Dester, Heavenly Death Ray, Steel Vein. So Steel Vein skill is that when he's rolled upon by Avantgarde, you search your deck for, it's the same skill, but instead of a grade 1, it's a grade 2 strategy order. So once again, we only have one grade 2 strategy order, which is the Bombing Mission, which is just him, but he's attacking a warship.
He's bombing something.
Yes. Okay, and then of course we have the start of the show, Blue Dester, I can't remember. It's Blue Dester Sky Render Avantgarde. So Avantgarde is the new version of Blouse in this series after 10 sets finally.
Machina Bomb.
Yeah, so his skill is that once per turn, you may put a strategy order from your order zone into your soul, and then he gains 5, and you draw 1. He gains 5k, and then the red text, which is that any of the battle that he attacked a Vanguard, if his attack hit or you have Persona Ridden this turn, you may counterblast 1 and discard 1 card from your hand to stand him when he loses a drive.
Yep.
That's it. This is very, very
simple
simplistic.
stand skill. It works going first if you hit. So that's a lot of pressure, and that's why Avantgarde is really good at going first.
Yes.
But as long as you manage to Persona Ride, you basically get that skill always.
Yes.
But the issue is you only have 3 Persona Rides, so you need to make sure you kill him by turn 6.
Because it's Brandt Gate, you better not be playing Chalice, otherwise
you can't be playing Chalice, so you have to hard find your copies.
So you only have 4 chances to Persona Ride and kill you, so choose wisely.
Yep. So now we're gonna talk about the strategy orders first, because there's actually a lot of them.
Yes.
First of all, we have our grade 1.
Yes.
This is the Assassination Mission. Then we have the Bombing Mission. And then we finally have the
Deadly
Attack
Winds.
Mission, Deadly Winds, or Killer Farts, so whatever you want to call it.
So we'll go with the grade 1 first, which is the Assassination Mission. So its skill is that when it's put into your soul from your order zone through through your Avantgarde's ability, you may give your Vanguard 5k, and then you choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. So it's just a very simple 1-for-1 on your opponent's field, and it gives your Vanguard power so you can hit easier. Honestly, this deck doesn't really need the control aspect, because any deck that you will want to control, you're only going to retire 1 rear guard a turn. You're not going to do any damage to like stuff like Stoic Kia, which can just like revive 7 rear guards in a single turn. Yeah, so it's good as a one-off, and it's good to just search it off for the 3 minus on your opponent's side, but otherwise it's very meh.
You only use it once just to snipe off something that's actually important, so it's a nice strategy order to keep it in place, but you only just use it once, because any turn you're using it, you are losing a lot of your aggressive value just for the sake of playing a stealth mission, which is not what you do in Avantgarde.
Yes, and then we have the second skill, which is the bombing mission. So the bombing mission is a bit more spicy. Is that when he's put into the soul through the on the order zone, your Vanguard gains 10k, and your opponent cannot intercept and cannot activate Blitz orders until the end of the turn. So it is really strong in terms of just being able to freeze your opponent's entire front row if they call a lot of great tools. A lot of people are still gonna play Command Rusher in this kind of meta. Recyclable drop things you can intercept with and then recycle.
Coffin shooter?
Yeah. So it's just very strong in terms of just freezing your opponent's entire board and then preventing them from using their Sanctitude, which they're so fond of. They bought 10 trial decks for it.
Yeah, and this is good going first as well. If you're not willing to use your death winds early,
Yes.
you can actually use this just for a quick 28k center column with Avantgarde,
Yes.
and that is very threatening against the 10k grade 2. So do keep that in mind. The blocking of intercepts is really nice, but
Yes.
mainly the fact that you can just straight up just gain 10 and then additional 5 of Avantgarde ensures that even if you don't have a large board to use killer winds to really boost your board to high heavens, you can just use this instead to really just go for a good center column twice and just push off the aggression going first, which is something we should keep in mind.
Oh yeah, and then side note, if your opponent is playing Magnolia Elder, you basically freeze his entire board because your opponent cannot intercept.
Oh yeah, he can't do anything.
Yeah, against your Vanguard attack.
And then lastly, the most important
is
strategy order
is
Death Winds.
Death Winds. So Death Winds is your premier order card that you want to be using. That's why we play it at the max 4 copies. Because when it is put into the soul from the order zone through the ability of your Avantgarde, it gives your Avantgarde the red text that every time it attacks, your whole front row gains 5.
Yep.
So basically, but if Avantgarde attacks twice, it's basically you double up the persona, right?
Yeah, which is pretty insane.
Yeah, and even if Avantgarde only attacks once, it's still 5k
for 3
your
units.
entire board, so entire front row. So it's still really very strong.
If you attack once, we would recommend just use the bombing order instead. But if you know that you can multi-attack through, say, a persona, right, then it's definitely way worth to go for this. And most of the time, you would want that instead.
Yes. So it's just the orders are just very simple and just add a lot of flavor into this deck, honestly.
So moving on to our grade 3s, which are quite simple. We obviously play 4 copies of Avantgarde.
With 1 in the right deck and 3
copies
in the main deck, and then we play 2 copies of Vogel.
Yep.
So I think Vogel, so Avantgarde is very self-explanatory. He literally has persona right in his text.
Yep, so we have to play.
So you have to play the maximum 4 copies. Then Vogel's skill, as you can see, we're only gonna run 2 copies of him because it is foreshadowing for our grade 2s, especially the new card that has joined this deck. When he's placed on Rearguard Circle, Counter Blast 1, Soul Blast 1, you search your deck for 1 grade 3 set order and add it to your hand. So as you can we only play 1 grade 3 set order, so it's very simplistic. You just add Death Winds to your hand and then you can set out for your next turn.
Your kill turn, yeah.
And then he has a second skill, which is once per turn. When you play a set order, he gains 5.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
It's really generic. 18k beater that's very searches you out consistency. So it's a no-brainer to play in a deck that is so reliant on his grade 3 order. But there are other ways to search out your grade 3 orders, which is why we only play 2 copies of it now.
Yep. Moving on to our grade 2s, we play 1 copies of
Steel Vein
in the right deck. Then we play 4 copies of Ala di Argentino.
Yes.
We play 2 copies of Combined Russia. EVA players, weep and cry. And then we play 4 copies of Blitz Operator Fry Heights.
Yes.
So let's break this down real quick. I mean, it's no surprise that Steel Vein is here. He's for the right deck, right? I don't have to explain this. Combined Russia, goodbye EVA players. You need a different way to play. He has 2 skills, and both of which are very irritating. His first skill is that when he attacks, if your order zone has 2 or more...
your order zone has 2 or more set
cards.
Wait.
2 more cards.
Your order zone has 2 or more cards,
yeah, he
and
gets
your
10.
opponent is grade 3 or greater, he gains 10.
So going second, it's a 20k beater because we assume every turn you've played a strategy order at least, right? That's why we even up the number of bombing runs to 2. So that's your indication that we're actually leaning more towards setting up more strategies rather than setting up the right strategies.
But honestly, the extra 10k is not the biggest. It's not the biggest reason why you play him.
Not
the
at
big
all.
reason is why it's his second skill,
Yes.
which is when you play a set order, counter blast 1 from the drop zone, you can call him out to a regular circle.
Graham Grace is now Grand Blue in Avantgarda, and this shit is really good, but it's only a 2-off because Counterblast is very costly these days.
Yes.
Very costly, and you'll see why with Freiheit.
Yeah, so Blitz Operate Master Freiheit has two skills, one of which we cannot even use. So his first skill is when he plays Counterblast 1 and ditch 1 card from your hand, you may search your deck for 1 card with the same name as your Vanguard. And add it to your hand. Or you can also add a product, because we're not playing Blitz, it doesn't.
So the only thing is you just look for Avantgarde because this is your persona, right, searcher?
Yes, it's literally discard 1 to train out persona, right? It doesn't get any better than this.
You can use this to search Pure Light, but I mean, you would
generally he's just there for consistency. He might not even be here next set, but for now he's very, very crucial for this deck because persona riding is very, very key to the survival of Avantgarde.
But in the future, he may be removed.
Yes, and then we have the new card, which is Ala di
Argentina?
Ala di Argento. So, Ala's skill is that she has 2 skills.
What kind of name is
Every
that?
time that your Avantgarde Vanguard attacks, so basically, your Avantgarde Vanguard is going to swing once, and then after it restands, and it's going to swing again. She gains 5k every time Avantgarde swings. So, it's very similar to Emmeline. Except that unlike Emily, which allows all blasters to give her power, she only gets power when the Vanguard swings.
Yep.
Yes. And her second skill is the reason why we only need to play 2 Volga and why we are suddenly running more of the bombing run, is that when she's placed, if you have put a strategy card from your order zone into your soul, you may search your deck for a strategy card with a different name from the strategy card that you have put into your order zone, and you add it to your hand. So basically, the order zone, this is the reason why we basically play ascending copies going by grade, cause what you want to do is you
go for one.
Let's say you go for the grade 1 strategy order. You put this into Soul for Avantgarde. You can train out grade 2 or grade 3. If you put the grade 2, you can search for the grade 1 or the grade 3. But honestly, the grade 1 you don't want to search out, so you just search for the grade 3.
And then if you use the grade 3, you can just search out for the grade 2.
Yes.
So it really just goes around when and how you actually trigger
for one soul blast to search out, and you search out your win condition. I think it's pretty good.
It's on place, right?
Yeah, it's on place.
So you can only use this about once or twice because you don't have that much soul in Avantgarde. But the times you use it is very effective, and even after you finish using it as on place, it's still a wonderful 20k beater. So basically, it's just the second coming of Emily. If you haven't bought this card, which I'm surprised you haven't, you should, because currently on Yurite it's around it's about 1,300 yen, which is not bad, but I think not 1,300. It's about 2,000.
Yeah, 2,000 yen. So she's on the rise. She's on the rise.
It's about 2,000 something yen. So I do recommend you to pick it up. This deck, Avantgarde with Ala in particular, has been topping local tournaments. You can just check literally any site and it'll tell you that. So
although if you are just looking for a unit that gains power, there is actually a rare insect 10 that does basically her first skill, but even better because it's just when she's placed. When you put the strategy order, gain 5. When your Avantgarde attacks, gain 5.
Yeah.
So that card will be 20k immediately as soon as your Avantgarde swings for the first time. Even if your opponent guards, you still get the 20k beater off.
But the reason why Allah shines is because it's both a utility card
and the
a
beater
power card. So it's basically just Emily, like I said. So yes, you can actually play the set 10 support with Allah together and remove even more of your generics. But it's a card so good and currently quite cheap for some strange reason. Do pick it up.
Yes.
Moving on to a great one, which is really quick. We have 4
Mega
Gal,
and
4 copies of RPG, and then 1 copy of Fidanis.
Yeah. So Fidanis is self-explanatory.
Fidanis explains itself, and so does our PGs. We don't need to explain it. We don't play any Blitz PGs because it's fine to play these. And then Mega Gal is just at the end of the bell that is unit boosted. If the attack hits, you counter charge 1. So this works behind Avantgarde. This works behind your rear guards, your Allahs. Wonderful. You just need counter charge because this deck burns counterblast a lot, especially now that we have combined Russia. So do actually play this card. In next set we will get Halfaway, who will be our premier counter charger. But this card is just such a good investment. You should pick it up.
And also is that Magragal, unlike Bobo Mine, actually stays on the board.
Yeah,
so,
it doesn't minus you.
So you don't have to worry. So even if it doesn't hit, even if it doesn't hit, at least the rear guard's not gonna go away unless you fight Gandiva. Then you know,
who the hell brings Gandiva?
Either way, your rear guard's gonna die.
You should be more worried about Leonor Mars, Unica Mars, Jojo Mars. Gandiva is the last of concern, man. And going out to grade zeros, we play one Solar Pilio. We play our over trigger, Brandt Gate's win condition. We play 3 draw because we do need our pieces. And then we also play some crits. Yes. And then we also play for heals. We are playing these heals in particular because we are playing this at a competitive level, which means we are going to be running against a lot of Chronojets, a lot of Messiahs. It's a very cheap, easy deck to pick up, so we are just attacking against it. Yes. However, this sometimes backfires if you play against the Masks decks, if you play against, you know, the wonderful decks like Dragonic Overlord, you will lose straight away. So
I mean, you won't lose straight away. It's just that this deck loses a significant tempo going second.
Yes.
So to just have a card that is a 20k shield if you go second, especially against all the decks that early aggro to fight Jet, to fight Messiah, to fight Mask. As there's so many decks that are built to grade 2 game now that the minute Avantgarde has to fight that, and it's just sitting with just your Vanguard, and then you just search your order. You will not survive with just 15k shields.
Yeah. So this is more of an informed decision in terms of, you know, how you want to play your decks.
If you know your local meta,
if you know you need it, then play it. If
definitely
you
play it.
Don't need it, don't play it. If you're playing it out of fear, you should stop as well.
Yes.
And
I mean, if you know that your local meta is just gonna be a bunch of people playing Eva, then of course you just buy a child deck. Just buy 15k shields.
Yep. And that wraps out our Avantgarda deck profile. As you can see, not much changes, very honestly. I mean, we only got one new card. You'll see more changes in set 10. If this video does well enough, then we'll actually cover it. Avantgarde got some wins when set 9 came out because of representation. And it's no big secret that it completely fell off after like 2 days. But the fact that now it is coming back, thanks to Allah the Argentine, or whatever the hell you pronounce it. Yes, Argento. Some of it is because of, you know, representation again, because people want to try this new promo. But there is some genuine strengths to this deck, and there will be more strengths to this deck thanks to the set 10 support, which is coming out. I know some people who are personally trying their best to master Avantgarde because the set 10 support is good and they want to play it at WGP this season.
I mean, mainly this deck is just really, really strong at damage gating. It's really strong to gauge your opponent in terms of how much damage they are willing to take.
Get off with its on hit.
Yes.
So it is something to look into from a rogue standpoint. Will this be able to fight off Masks? Maybe, if Avantgarde goes first.
But will this deck be able to fight Grandfield? No.
No, hell no. No, we're out.
Goodbye.
No,
Grandfield.
No.
Color Blast?
No. We're out. Okay? So that's pretty much it. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you all next time. Goodbye.